Everybody, I am Tommy, and you are on the lifeboat. What's happening? I hope you guys are having a fantabulous Sunday. Joy Love, good to see you. Barbara Aldrich, what's happening? Hello, DS Kitty. Shelly Kelly's here. Good to see you. Jason P, what's happening, brother? Diane, good to see you. I'm glad you're here. Hello, Jennifer. What's up, people? Tell you what, this is going to be a fun one. We've been talking about Voldemort here for a hot minute, right? He's certainly in the he's getting a lot of press, right? His case is starting to get traction very much in the way that the Diddler did. If you were to go back, say, 4 months or so, when it was just starting to kind of catch its legs, you know what I'm saying? Well, we're almost there again. Sandra Knight, good to see you. Mary, how are you? And there's a lot of debate going on, and I've said multiple times, it almost feels like people are getting paid off, right, for some of the stuff they say. You see all these videos about how Jay-Z's kicking his butt and he's a gangster and he's not taking this crap and this and that. Lisa Trimble, what's happening? Good to see you. Hey, SoCal friend, what are you doing? Maria, good to see you. Hey, Faye. But you're going to find, I think, if you watch this thing for a hot minute, that you got to start using your thinking caps. And I'm more guilty than anybody because I don't know. I've been reporting on this for a minute now, and I'm deep diving it, and then it starts to occur to me. So the debate on whether or not this Marine is smart enough or sharp enough or gangster enough to take on the boys over at Rock Nation is I don't know. I'm finding it laughable, and maybe because I'm a criminal. Honestly, that may have something to do with it, because you can tell me if this has occurred to you or not. I mean, maybe it's occurred to everybody, but Buzbee allegedly. How's that on a Sunday? We're 2 minutes in on a Sunday, and I'm already firing off with a few allegedlys. MP, good to see you. I'm glad you're here. Hello, Teresa Hayes. Allegedly, Buzbee's already got some affidavits signed by people that claim, right, that allege that some people from Rock Nation or representatives of them or people hired by them or some such have been going around and pressing up on content creators, and also, because that's new, but also trying to influence Buzbee's case by Voldemort's case by destroying Buzbee, by destroying the lawyer. And he has been alleged to have offered up to 10 grand to a former client to go rogue and maybe file a lawsuit against him or report him for whipping his junk out or doing any number of other things that would really damage this guy's reputation. This has been the theory, and this is what has been alleged. But Buzbee filed on this, and he filed with, here's when it happened. Here are some sworn affidavits. Here are some recordings of conversations between these people, yada, yada. Gangster, to be sure, right? I mean, he's going hard. Buzz comes back from this seeming to really have it together. I'm sorry, people. He has it way too much together. Hey, Johnny Scoville. That would be the Johnny Scoville. Kind of a legend. Not sure if you know that. But that's the Johnny Scoville, and the Johnny Scoville is a bit of a legend. That's my brother. Good to have you here, bro. I really am. I'm glad you're here. Jimmy Pickles, good to see you. Sonia, how are you? Maggie G, good to see you. Maybe this has occurred to you guys, and maybe I'm just really slow on the uptake. So how does he get this stuff? Maggie G, I'm serious, by the way. I'm not. This isn't rhetorical. Throw this up. How is it Buzbee gets this stuff? I want you to think about this logically, because this is pretty heavy. This is the kind of stuff that takes this from being normal to being gangster. I'm not kidding. How does he get the affidavits from these people? So if we think about this logically, hey, Robin Miners, allegedly listening or allegedly painting a room. I'm going to go with allegedly listening. No, this is a big distinction and kind of a big deal, because one of a couple of things is happening. One is his former clients love him so much. His former clients are so damn dedicated that even when they're offered a stack of high society, right, where they could go shopping and buy themselves a really decent wristwatch, right, for 10 grand, you get a damn nice wristwatch. Or maybe down payment on a car. But these people would rather run to Buzbee and say, hey, do you know what these guys are trying to do? Maybe they're just stand-up cats. Right? Maybe his former clients are just really stand-up people. Or maybe they dig this dude. That's a possibility. Another possibility is he saw this coming. I'm struggling. I'm struggling to figure out how you get all of that put together, because the initial contact with somebody like that, you can feel pretty bold when you rolled up to somebody the first time and flip out a badge. Now, keep this in mind. That's what's been alleged. I roll up on you, right? And I go like this. Stein, American Music Association. Do you have your union cards? No, but seriously, good reference. The guy rolls up with badges and starts harassing people, but they're saying that they work for this agency or that agency. For these people to instantly turn and run back to their former lawyer would lead me to believe that they really like this guy. Or maybe he reached out to a bunch of clients and said, be on the lookout for people coming to mess with you. Because you see, the first time someone like that talks, they can say whatever they want. Because they probably are pretty confident you're not recording it. But the second time you talk, the third time you talk, you got to start being a little bit more circumspect. How is it that they've allegedly got tapes of these people screwing up? Either the folks from Rock Nation are straight running amateurs, right? They're either amateurs, and I mean rank amateurs, or this guy's a beast. This guy is a beast. Now, it's probably it's a little, the affidavit stuff, it's a little easier to get. I mean, these are people but they're coming back to him to tell him what these people are doing. By all accounts, everybody they went and talked to, it sounds like they may have gotten one person to turn. This is the person that came out with the story that said, he's got the jack. He got the jack. I'm sorry. That's juvenile. I blame my brother. You know what I mean? You got one of those older brothers that just ruined you. My older brother was worthless growing up. White Pip, good to see you. Hello, Maria. I'm being funny. But that is what is alleged, that he had a client, he gave the person a venereal disease, and then said to them, which is just, it's so stupid, it's almost hard to believe that someone could make it up. But allegedly, after giving the person a venereal disease and feeling bad about it, said, hey, I'll give you some cash for this, but I'll give it to you in free legal services. I don't know, man. It's hard to wrap your brain around in that circumstance. It really is. It's hard to wrap your brain around in that circumstance. Could Buzbee have federal help? Well, that's a really interesting question, isn't it? Right? That's a really interesting question. Maybe he does. I don't know. And maybe people, it's Sunday, right? Put your tinfoil hat on with me for a minute. Because honestly, this seems a little bit over the top now, doesn't it? So there's news rolling out right now that there's a lot of content creators, not one or two, but handfuls of content creators that are being approached, even being harassed and even getting pushed up on, where people are saying, hey, man, you better tuck it back in, or else. Allegedly, there's a lot of content creators that minions are messing with, right? Minions of the he who shall not be named allegedly are pushing up on content creators and saying, hey, get back to doing what you do on Diddy. Stop talking about me and my witch wife and start getting back to talking about the diddler. Now, since we're a really teeny channel, I don't think I have to worry too much about the people from Rock Nation reaching out to the Lifeboat to try to get me to sell out to Jade. But some of the bigger channels, allegedly, this is happening, and it's, if it was one story, but it's not. It's a lot of people talking about stuff like this, and a lot of them are coming up with pictures, and people have text messages and recordings, and this is a lot of smoke, man. This is a lot of smoke. And again, I don't have the perspective because of the fact that we're a smaller channel, and it looks like they're probably targeting larger ones. However, if you're looking for the payout, give me a call. Not saying I'd sell out. I would just like to hear your offer. And you have my word, I would never come back on and say, hey, this is what the people from Voldemort offered me. No, but for real, this is this is one of those things that people are alleging is happening. And we got to think about these people in terms of almost an unlimited budget. Hubris out the wazoo, right? These guys are probably some of the most arrogant people you will ever come across. If you believe what these guys are accused of, if you believe even half of the stuff that these guys are accused of, they do what they want, when they want, and wherever the hell they want, right? Like the flag store at Macy's, or a 4th of July party where you call a youngster off from the rest of the herd and just, give him chemicals, do what you're going to do. I mean, it's like nothing could bust these people. They weren't worried about it at any level. These people, nothing but hubris. It's an interesting recipe, isn't it? You like this background? I'm pretty damn fond of it myself, although it's been slightly decorated since the last time I got here. The last time I was here was a little bit different. We're seeing some really weird stuff happen, people. These are guys with that, once that ego, once that level of hubris gets messed with, right? They've lived with impunity, doing whatever they want for decades. Everybody says it. Okay? This was a secret that they joked about throughout Hollywood. Not funny. Not funny. But they've been joking about it for years, that, you don't put your drink down at a Diddy party. Like, this was pretty much established that these things were going on. Yet they got swept under the carpet for decades until they didn't. And since, again, it's Sunday, look, the tinfoil hat people, it's hard not to believe some of the stuff about Diageo. It's hard not to look at it and go, man, when you got a company that is that big, right? So if you're just joining us, you have no idea what I'm talking about. Diageo is a spirits brand in Europe, and they have a ton of different kinds of booze that you've heard of all of. But the one that really became an issue was Ciroc, a vodka that was not a company started by Sean Combs by any stretch. It was for sale long before Sean Combs got involved. But what he did was he marketed it beautifully. Brock Bandy, good to see you, my brother. Glad that you're here. Hey, Kestrel. Hope you're doing well. He marketed it well. They started moving millions of cases of this stuff. Like, no joke. They were, pounding it. And he had a lot of performance bonus type stuff built into his contract. And he made, allegedly, $1 billion, right? $1 billion with a B. A lot of money. And then, allegedly, they started to cut back on the money that they were investing in him. And he filed a lawsuit saying that they did that because they were racist. Now, apparently they weren't racist when they went into business with him. They weren't racist when they sponsored all of those parties, right? Look, when you see all those people standing around and partying and all that, look where it says Ciroc everywhere you look, or De Leon. You think, did he just put that up there because he's kind? This dude got rich not because of music. He got rich because he was a party organizer. This was a guy that could throw a really, really mean party, complete with, chemicals that knock people out so you could film them once they start doing the nasty, right? With or without consent. Either them doing it to people or getting done to them. But allegedly, this is what has been alleged, that this was going on for a long time and they were recording all of it. And it sounds, if you haven't been following it, if you're just now stumbling on it, it sounds hard to believe. But everybody seems to record this stuff, right? There were recordings listed in all three of the human tea cases that are currently going on. And I say three, I'm not talking about Voldemort. He has not been charged with anything yet. By the way, all parties are innocent until proven guilty, which hopefully will happen soon. A lot of smoke. They might all be innocent, but boy, oh boy, there's a lot of smoke. If the diddler is innocent of all things that he has been accused of, and this is absolutely a campaign, a psyop to take somebody down, then we're all in deep trouble. I'm telling you, we're all in deep trouble. You know how many moving parts this would take? Buzbee is now saying there could be 300 lawsuits. Now, that doesn't mean there could be 300 lawsuits against the diddler. It means that Buzbee could have 300 lawsuits against the diddler. There's not enough money. This guy, I don't care how much money he's got. You realize how out of control this is getting? And I do believe there could be 300 victims in this guy. I believe that. This just seemed to be his drug of choice, didn't it? Yeah. Using chemicals to knock somebody unconscious and then do things against their will and film it. That's his get down. It wasn't about sex. It wasn't about power. It was about humiliation. It was about degradation. They want to degrade people that don't have an ability to say no. This is sickness. This is disgusting. And I feel like, I got a lot of, we talked yesterday, I think it was, about Jeffrey Epstein. In fact, his name's coming up a lot because as we close out 2024, I'm pissing and moaning quite a bit about how society doesn't seem to step up to the plate. And I talked about how Ghislaine Maxwell managed to go to prison for selling kids to nobody. She's in there for doing what she does, but there's no John anywhere, right? There's no Trick. There's the pimp, right? First one's dead. He unalived himself. Ghislaine is still alive. She's sitting in a federal prison. But I don't know how you convict someone of selling kids to no one. I mean, and I'm not advocating for Ghislaine Maxwell to get out of the joint, you understand. What I'm advocating for is for them to produce a list of people that she should have the right to face her accusers, should she not? I mean, that is our legal system. She's supposed to have a right to face those people. Right? How about asking those people some questions? Well, we wanted to, but there was a vote up on the Hill that day, right? There were so many politicians that had to get up there for a vote that they just couldn't pull it off. It's not funny, I'm sorry. It's really not. But what kind of juice do you got to have to keep a whole list of names like that buried? What kind of juice do you got to have to go into a federal prison, unalive somebody, and walk out? Like it was the thing to do. We're talking about some dangerous folk, don't you think? We're talking about some pretty dangerous folk. But as we started talking about this the other day and bringing up Ghislaine Maxwell, a lot of you have reached out to say, I don't think Epstein's dead. A lot of you said, I don't believe Epstein's dead. I think that he's in hiding and whatever we saw was a wax body or whatever we saw was someone else that they bumped off, but he's still alive. If that's what we're going to believe, then we got to believe then that he started this. He was the top of the food chain. He came up with the idea, figured out a way to get the money, put the whole thing together and all of that. I don't know. I struggle with that. That to me doesn't sound very, very plausible. I kind of have a feeling that he was an employee, right? And I kind of think, too, that Diddy was an employee of somebody's. And I think in both cases, they got out of control. They started living way, way too much of the lifestyle that they were supposed to be filming. Central casting, says MP. Yeah, I mean, I get it. Look, I'm not suggesting that it couldn't be done, but I just have a feeling that there are people or groups or agencies or whatever that set these operations up, and then they got to go find a Diddy, or they got to go find an Epstein, or they got to go find maybe Voldemort, who knows, because this stinks, right? Because allegedly in this thing, those guys who were showing up and talking to content creators are saying what? Get back to doing your Diddy content. They don't care if that guy's getting trashed. And is that because he was the protected class but isn't anymore? And now Voldemort still is? Or is this just all Voldemort? Because, yeah, you could say, well, he sued or threatened to sue Piers Morgan when Jaguar Wright was platformed on the Piers Morgan show. Instantly, right? He's ready to sue, blah, blah, blah. And he's allegedly, there's a lot going on with this guy sending people to attack his attorney, not physically yet, but to try to destroy his reputation and solicit people to BS, solicit people to file lawsuits, anything they can do to smut up the attorney that's suing him. They put half that money into trying to prove that he wasn't there because he says he wasn't, right? Put some of that money into tightening up that alibi and then sit back and just say, you're all going to look stupid when we go to court, right? He thinks the lady doth protest too much. Put a deuce in the chat if you think he looks guilty as sin. I didn't say if you think he's guilty as sin. Maybe you think the guy's done nothing wrong. But tell me if his actions, right, allegedly, right? Now, this isn't whole cloth. Nobody's making this up whole cloth. He has filed, right? Buzbee has filed on this. And by the way, the only thing that we've heard from the judge so far was a resounding bitch slap to Spyro. I'm sorry, that's really what happened. When they went into court, the judge told Spyro to knock this crap off. I didn't hear him say anything about Buzbee filing anything that was frivolous or whatnot. But there's a lot of crazy stuff going on, and it brings to mind that, you know, I'm of the firm belief that everything this guy's doing is making him look desperate and guilty, and really, really desperate. You know, realistically, that may be the case. This may be one of those situations where he knows if this baby becomes a brush fire, it's the end of the world. You do know what I'm suggesting, right? Think about this for a second. This girl comes out. She was a girl at the time. She's a woman now, but she comes out and she does this lawsuit. And it comes out in the press that she's missing some details and some things that just seem erroneous to hell. So they make a big point of trashing this girl and doing everything they can to really look like big bullies. And then the judge goes, yeah, you know what? No, we're not going to make her tell her the world her name. We're going to protect that. And just rest this fool down. If a different message got sent out of that court, any other women that have been teetering on the edge of coming forward, and you got to believe one of two things. You got to believe that Sean Voldemort, right, Carter, is either innocent 100%, right, or he is what he is, right, accused of being. If he is what he is accused of being, and he's an R-word kind of guy, then there's a bunch more people. Like the guys from Florida started out the first day we found out about them for real. Now, the arrest had taken place a while back, but that first day where there was a press conference and they were talking about the Alexander brothers, they said about 40 women so far had come forward. Now they are coming forward to beat hell because the three demons are behind bars. And women that thought, you know, maybe it's just me. Maybe I was the only one. Maybe I did drink too much that night. You know, people start to question their own sanity. If no one else is saying anything, they think to themselves, or even if it got out of control, he's never done it to anyone else. I've never heard of anybody talking about this. Once they find out that the guy is a lowlife, they don't do this kind of stuff once. There's always a big trail of people that have been injured. So what I'm suggesting is this. All of those people out there watching this stuff with bated breath, all of those people out there that may have been injured by these people, they don't look all that bulletproof anymore. Right? They no longer look like they can get away with doing whatever the hell they want, and nobody, and I do mean nobody, is going to do anything about it, because that's how it's been for a long time, hasn't it? Really. Voldemort went on the Charlie Rose show, started talking about his life and the love they share, and blah. But he loses track, right? That happens when you do a billion interviews. And he starts dropping dates where people in the audience have been doing the math are going, whoa, wait. How old was she when you started dating? I thought you guys waited until she was, oh, please. Come on. Right? I'm not going to suggest that this guy has gone after a bunch of underage people because I'm not that dude, and I don't want old Voldemort coming to bug tussle. So instead, I'll just recommend that you Google his name with a plus sign, right? Dating underage women. See what you come up with. I would never say such a thing. Yeah, I know, right? If you guys are aware of what this references to, Jay-Z called himself Oba, right? There's, honestly, the translation is like God, Jehovah. That you can't make this stuff up, right? The arrogance and the hubris and all of this stuff. By the way, if you think that's a crazy conspiracy thing, go ahead and look. Like he comments on it himself. Well, I wasn't really calling myself a rap god or anything like that. Oh no, you were. You offensive musician, you. You maestro, you. It's a little creepy. So if you're a little confused there, let me back up. There has been for a couple of weeks this big drama about Voldemort. That is the person who shall not be named. He married Beyonce Knowles. But when we use his name, we tend to get the videos dinged. So around here we call him Voldemort. And there's been this big drama between Buzbee, the attorney out of Houston, and Spyro, the guy that is representing Voldemort. He's also represented a slew of other very, very wealthy, very, very elite kind of individuals. And he's done it with a great deal of success. However, I think usually, at least maybe not all the time, but often, even the wealthy will say, "Hey, you know what? You're the attorney, right? I'm paying you the big bucks. I'll just kind of back off and let you do your job, and I'll put a little faith in you." And then you got the other people who do stuff like, "Oh, I don't know. Why don't we get a 12-pack of people and get them some stinking badges, and we'll send them around to intimidate people and see if they can't get former clients of this attorney and see if we can't get them to make claims and to file lawsuits and do things like that." That was their go-to. They were going to come down and just try to destroy Buzbee. Somehow, Buzbee is either slicker than whale shit in an ice flow, right? Or this dude saw this coming. This dude, what? Because all of the people, allegedly, that these guys went out and contacted, most of them ran right back to the Buzbee law firm to say, "Hey, these guys are trying to get me to say this, this, and this." Which means Buzbee must just be the best and most ethical attorney on earth, because all of his clients wanted to run right back to his agency to help him. Do you buy that? Because I don't know that I do. I'm not saying I don't, but damn. He's got affidavits from all of these people. He's got recordings from some of them. You think that the people from Rock Nation would be dumb enough to talk to these people on the phone after making an initial contact and say incriminating stuff? Because that's what it sounds like happened. Or he was smart enough to know this was coming and had people ready to hit record before it ever happened. I don't know, but this is pretty wild stuff. This is pretty wild stuff. It's interesting. I find it wildly interesting because he has recordings, he has affidavits. He's got the entire case that he had filed. And if everything in there, what is alleged to be in all of that, if all of that can be proven, they're screwed, right? They're screwed. And it's a recurring pattern. Why do you have to mess with the jury? Right? We know, because the calls were recorded, we know that Sean Combs said, "We got to taint this jury pool." Quote, "We got to taint this jury pool because we only need one." The phrase, "we only need one," right? Flipped around means we know everybody in that jury is going to think I'm guilty. We only need one, right? To make sure I don't spend the rest of my life behind bars or concrete metal doors. Or a lot of bars left. But the point. The song remains the same. It's a very interesting thing to me, people. Just from a legal standpoint, when does this kind of crap happen in the U.S.? It's a hell of a lot of fun to watch, isn't it? I'm sorry, from a law nerd point of view, this is easy to geek out to. From the very first time, right, those doors get kicked in over at Sean Combs' house, he gets on the Rolodex and just starts calling every single person that he might have, right, essayed or had a freak off with or do whatever. He started reaching out to all the people that he was really scared might talk to the feds before he got a chance to talk to them, and either tried to coerce him into saying nothing or tried to convince him that, hey, tell him it was consensual, that we had a really good time, or any number of these things, right? Hey, Bobo. It could have been any of those, but they started the process of trying to tamper with this case and with his jury almost instantly. Thankfully, they got busted. Kind of keeps the integrity of the legal system going, at least in theory, right? However, you all right? Jesus, that's a big dog, man. That dog stands about a foot taller than he ought to. We could just knock about 6 feet off of him. 6 inches off of each leg. It would be perfect. Buzbee seems dodgy. I'd trust him as far as I could throw his tank or drive his tank. Yeah, here's the thing. I was married to one. So if you happen to be an attorney here, I'm not picking on you in particular, just on the craft. But lawyers don't come across particularly, they never look great. But their job in their defense, right? Their job isn't to look good. Their job is to advocate for their clients. And if in the process of doing that, they got to make themselves look like the world's most epic D-bag, nevertheless, they might be doing the best they can for their client. And if they do that, that makes them a good attorney. I don't know the answers to this, but I find it remarkable that what he filed on Voldemort, again, reads like they're ready to prosecute. The filing from Little Rod and the filing from Cassie Ventura, These things looked like a prosecution's case. This is why I think when people talk about how the theory that he sued BlackRock, got the ruling in his favor. BlackRock said, he accused BlackRock of being racist. When all that went down, they lost 20% of their market cap. Their stock took such a hit, they lost 20% of its value. $13.5 billion. $13.5 billion. That's a lot of angry, man, isn't it? Think about that. So I think the fellows over from Diageo, who, by the way, a lot of folks from BlackRock, a big chunk of the available stock in that is owned by BlackRock. But a lot of people believe that was the start of his downfall. And a lot of people believe that they were doing building a dossier on Sean Combs right from the very beginning. From the beginning of their relationship with him, they started to build a dossier on him. And maybe they were doing it to protect themselves in case lawsuits came out and they get named in them. Because if you're the liquor sponsor for some of these parties, if you read any of these lawsuits and they're suing Sean Combs, they're going to sue everybody else in the room, right? Anybody that had anything to do with it. Universal Music Group in association with this and this, right? At all. Everybody's getting sued. Everybody. Not sure. Buzbee, yeah, do you find the guy too difficult? Do you hate him so much you can't root for him? What do you guys think? I mean, are we team Buzbee? Do you people hate Buzbee? What do you think? Let me know. Tell me in the chat. What is this? To hear Lionel the last several weeks adamantly defending Diddy and crew, keeping my good eye on him. Yeah. Oh, when I first started reading that, I thought we were talking about a different Lionel. Okay, yeah. There's been a lot going on, people. Make no mistake, they are using some big dog professionals to try to turn public opinion on this. They got to know right now. And if you're Voldemort, you got a real interest in seeing your old pal. Well, they're not really. I forgot. They're not friends. They're associates. They kind of know each other from the industry. Might run into each other in an awards thing. You know what I mean? If something from MTV's going on or whatever, I might be there, but it's not like we're tight. God, that didn't. It's just so weak. What a dumb. Anyway. It seems to me there's a push. There really is. You're starting to see shorts of people who are saying, this is a setup. They're just trying to take this guy down. And I'm kind of shocked it took this long to happen. But I think the game changer in this has been we're shifting. Now that we have a new, very famous tycoon involved in this, it's a whole new breath of oxygen into the story. And there's a lot of people now who weren't following it during the initial days of Diddy, who are now definitely following it because of who we've got. The public opinion seems like idiots. Well, there's some truth to that. It only matters what comes out in court and how the jury rules. Spyro and Buzbee are like Ali and Frazier. It's an excellent point. It really is. It's also, we're going to be confused. It's going to be a really wild couple of years. Let's say Buzbee's right. There's 300 lawsuits. You got any idea how long it's going to take for 300 lawsuits to meander through the legal system? Right? If it's not like you can't just sort of waive every one. I would imagine that Sean Combs is going to want to fight every single one of these, right? Which means he's going to be getting transported back and forth. Oh, God, his life is going to be a hell. It's really, you can't imagine how bad it is, especially in the feds. When they start, if they got to take you to court, and let's say you're going to court at 11 a.m., right? They will pick you up at 4 a.m. to get you there for 11. And then you will sit there until 5 when the court shuts down, and then they will bring you home. It's the longest day you can imagine. And if you've got court for 30 days, you're going to do that every single day. And I would imagine as soon as it's over, it's going to start all over again. 300? How long do you think it would take for 300 cases to proceed through the court system? Do I think the diddler will squeal? I think he's the kind of guy that would, right? I think he's the kind of guy that would. But they would have to give him the best deal on earth. You know, this is actually pretty intelligent. I am Juana Love. They can't give him a good enough deal. He's a narcissist. He has to be on the street. He has to be relevant, right? If you believe that he was having a meltdown, right? The meltdown was because he was locked up in there and people were on the street making moves and he couldn't do things. If they came at him and said, if you give up these people, we'll have you in and out of prison in 15 years. I just don't see that there's any chance on earth he would do that. Way too big an ego to take a deal. Unless he got there are people over the course of my life that got sweetheart deals. People that even had bodies, people that they had unalived and turned enough state's evidence that, they only had to do a very short, 3 or 4 years or whatever. But I don't know that Diddy could do any of them. Do I think Diddy is clean and sober now? That's a really hard question to answer because I don't know what availability he's got in there. It is a legendary place for chemicals. People have always said that MDC Brooklyn, you could get anything you wanted, and it kind of makes sense because you're right in the middle, right, of New York, and people getting visits and all that. There's every substance you could want in New York. I'm sure that they're in the jail, but he's in ultra protective custody, and I don't know whether or not there's anyone that would be willing to sell to those guys. If you get caught selling to people in PC, it does really bad stuff for your reputation, and no one wants to talk to you, and they think that you're in cahoots with those people. And it's normally on a regular yard, nobody in PC could ever buy dope. But this isn't a regular yard, and this isn't a regular inmate. He's got money to burn, and he's been addicted, allegedly. He's been addicted to opiates forever, a lifetime, decades. So I think if there's any way at all that he can get dope in there, he's getting it. And with the money he's got, yeah, I'd say there's a decent chance he's still using, but that's solely on opinion. That's solely based on, well, I was a degenerate junkie for a really long time. And when I got locked up, my first question was, how do we get dope in here? Who do I got to buy it from? What do I got to do? If he went in there and said that stuff, I'm sure there would be people willing to sell to him in spite of his status. Why? Because they can make a crap load of money on him. There's a difference between doing business with people strictly for cash, and there are people in there that will make that distinction. Marissa says, I think Buzbee is playing the long game, and so far, Voldemort has played right into Buzbee's court. So far, everything that this dude is doing is making him look guilty, right? So every small channel on YouTube is having conversations today that sound a lot like the one we're having here. It's a bust. It's a bad look. You don't do this if you're innocent. I'm sorry you don't. You can come out and make a complaint and say, I'm unhappy about this, or, these people did that or whatever. But the kind of anger, the level of, he's really putting up a whole lot of anger about this. He's overreacting with all of the lawsuits and with allegedly sending people to threaten folks, threaten them legally or threaten them physically or try to coerce them with a large amount of money. I got to blow my schnoz. Hold on a second, people. Then there's always that scary moment when you come back up and you're just hoping like your entire mustache is not just a cake of, hey. So yeah, he might be clean and sober. I'm probably going to go out on a limb and say he has used while in there. Whether or not he can get it every day, they really are considered lowlives. The COs would be more than likely how he would get it in, because when you have a business and you have that many people that have been with you forever, you got bodyguards and you've got handlers. I would imagine that they went and started following anybody they could out of MDC Brooklyn. see where they hang out. I would not be surprised if they've turned out a CO. And I know COs will be bummed out when they hear that, but it wouldn't surprise me. It just wouldn't. Tony's Hooter, good to see you. Yeah, I don't think we're going to see any judges in this. You know, one of the questions, and we get this all the time, you see it, right? People ask this question in my chat all the time. You know, Tommy, you say he's going to get judged, whatever, but you know how easy it would be to buy a judge? This is not like any other case we've ever seen. These cases, every last one of them, are going to be in textbooks for law school. And the reason is, how often do you end up with all parties involved dropping massive amounts of money on their legal teams, or even pro bono, whatever, but getting the best attorneys in the world that are going to be fighting, and more eyes on the case than have ever been on any other case? That's a recipe for disaster if you're trying to cheat, because every single move you make is going to be just pulled apart, whether or not you get an appeal here, or all of that gets reviewed for the next 60 years in law books. I think judges are cognizant of that kind of stuff. I really do. I think that it affects them. I don't see, I'd be really blown away if somebody could pay off a federal judge. Getting to a juror, though, is a completely different story. Yeah, I agree with this. I agree with this 100%. Jay's overreaction is what made me sure he did it. Yeah. How about the not just addressing the fact that, hey, this is a smear on my character. Like you said that about 10 times. But the reason it's a smear on my character is because I've never touched anybody underage. I've never done anything like that. And this will be proven out in court. Thanks, everybody. Have a good day. There you go. There's your PR firm. Write me a check for $90,000 and we'll call it even. Oh, that was the weirdest. I thought that was my phone for a second. I have the coolest. Quibsy got me this thing that you sit on. Has a unbelievably comfortable cushion, and you just drop into it. Like, it's supposed to help with back pain. I'm not going to lie to you, people. I am very, very comfortable sitting in this particular chair. So this is going to be reviewed ad nauseum. It already is, right? What? No, I thought she was talking to me. His overreaction has tainted everybody. It has. Except a lot of people that are kind of in mainstream media, right? And that's got to start making you wonder. Do you really think all of those people up there think this guy's innocent, right? How do the people, and we know who they are, if you watch any of the big channels, and I don't mean, stuff like TMZ, right? Even Harvey Levin doesn't seem to be treating Voldemort the same way he treated Sean Combs. I don't think anybody would argue that it's night and day between the way these two are getting treated. And if you think that's because it's so obvious to us that one of them was that kind of person and the other, well, darn it, the other's just not a bad guy. Such a great question, man. Such a great question. I have the single greatest audience in all of YouTube. When Diddy is attacked in the federal prison, will we hear about it? Short answer, probably not. Now, what I mean by that is we're very unlikely to hear an announcement from the Bureau of Prisons that something happened to him. But they're getting to the point now where if it's a high-profile inmate and that high-profile inmate gets attacked or gets into a fight, they will end up making a statement. And they will, because somebody in that unit is going to call home, tell the entire story to somebody, right? So if it's a high-profile inmate, often we can find out what happened, or at least that they were in a fight. For instance, Derek Chauvin's stabbing, right, that happened here at the Tucson prison. We heard about that because it's Derek Chauvin. So he's the guy that put his knee on Floyd's neck. The world's going to find out one way or the other, so they like to get out in front of it. But if it was me, if it's just some random run-of-the-mill convict, It's a completely different game. It's almost impossible to get info out of it. But if the diddler gets hurt or attacked or something, they're going to want to make a statement about it and control that big time. For the Mod Squad, why, thank you, Christy Hughes. You are too kind. Yeah, you know what? Again, thank you. This is what I'm talking about. The audience. Mainstream media got a nice PowerPoint presentation from The Rock. Yeah. And that came out today. This is it, right? This is no joke. You've seen people, you've seen some of the shorts. The guy's walking around talking about how these people have never done anything wrong. No shirt on, by the way, right? I'm always skeptical if somebody's walking around screaming about anything and they've taken their shirt off before they do it. I don't know. Seems odd. Seems odd to me. I don't think they can. It's a great question. I don't think they can. Do you think that they will unalive him at some point to protect themselves from what he may say? If not for, if the Jeffrey Epstein thing hadn't happened yet, I think that would probably be far more likely. We are a very different country, world, right? The other day we were in here and I said, hey, put in the chat where you are in the world, right? From what part of the world you're in. And it would have blown your mind. We had the entire globe covered, right? There's people everywhere following this case because of that. And because, not to toot my own horn, but I'll toot my own horn. Because of guys like me and because of guys like Casper and because of guys like Atwood, but people that have been inside these institutions who go, there's no way that story makes any sense, right? Because it wouldn't have happened in a prison. It's impossible for it to happen that way, right? So we have a much more educated audience. Now, if they were to say something like that, people would start to ask questions that would be a lot harder for them to answer. So the short answer is I don't think that there's a chance they can get away with that. Now, it could be done if they were slick, right? If they made it look like an overdose, and that probably wouldn't be hard to do. Yeah, this is another great question. Kensington Gore says, what kind of hell is it to take a mind-altering substance while incarcerated? It kind of depends on what you take. And the reason I say that is, like, a lot of guys do H, right? And the reason they do is it takes away pain, right? These are painkillers. So it takes away pain. It takes away spiritual pain, emotional pain, physical pain, any kind of pain you got. And most people in prison have a lot of pain. But there are guys in prison that do crank, right? So methamphetamine products. And that one to me was always shocking. Like, the joint ain't bad enough that you're not looking forward to those, 8 hours during the night where you can close your eyes and go to sleep and pretend you're somewhere else. They want to stay up for 6 or 7 days in a row while locked up in prison. That one never made any sense to me. It's a good point because there's a lot of truth to this. Public opinion changed. Turned on Diddy when Cassie's assault video was released. Do you think there's a smoking gun on Voldemort? I think that there's a smoking gun on everybody. I really do. And not necessarily a smoking gun that would land the person in prison for the rest of their life or whatever. But I think that there's everybody in this is tied up deeper than they'd like to be. And it's scary to me. It is, but it's also scary that public opinion seems to me to be fickle, right? It does. It seems to me to be fickle. For instance, the Italian shooter, right? Chuck Mangione. Shout out to Lionel. But the shooter from the guy that shot the CEO. If that dude had shot anybody else, we'd be having a very different story. Now, you guys know where I stand. Right? Murder's murder. When you start saying one kind of murder is okay, then you got to determine who's allowed to be the person to say this kind's okay, that kind's not okay. Boy, I don't want any part of that. I really don't. I don't want any part of that. You follow me? But look what public opinion does, right? You got people out there protesting, saying they want to marry the dude. You got all of these just insanity, right, that goes on. And I feel like, and I don't mean, present company excluded, but I think a lot of people on the internet are kind of just waiting to be led around by their schnoz. Which is a pretty, I don't know. I'll stick with that. I really will. That PowerPoint presentation said Jay guilty to me. I think a lot of people, all of his attempts are making him look worse, right? Hey, Toby, all of his attempts are making him look more guilty. But I'll tell you something. Buzbee's no punk, and he really better get it straight on this. And they're paying, or people have this opinion. I don't believe that. But maybe people have this opinion, or maybe they're paying him. But there's this narrative that, Buzbee, he isn't up for the fight. In other words, the Voldemort team, those guys are gangsters, right? Buzbee's out of his league. He starts messing around with guys like this, man, they're going to bring it. They got no idea. What they brought got recorded, right? What they brought got recorded. The people that they tried to pay off signed affidavits saying, this is how much I was offered. This is the day that the person did it. Here are some messages back and forth between the two of us. Allegedly, there is a lot of dirt on that man. And you would think if there's a lot of dirt on him, then there's probably a lot of dirt on the family. The two-piece, he and I was about to turn around and say, she who rides the Nimbus 2000, but I'm in the wrong office. Sasha. You know Sasha. Isn't her name Sasha? What's the name of that demon chick that she becomes when she's on stage and everything starts yeah. I'm sorry, man. Miss me with that crap. I don't want to hear that. Do you guys want to hear that? She apparently becomes a different person on stage. And by different person, I mean, like Zool and the keymaster and the gatekeeper. And come on, people. Becky. I'm sorry, it's Becky? No, it's not. Becky's the one with the good hair. That's the girl that she's jealous of, apparently, with her guy. Not Becky. It's good guess, though. Yes, Sasha Fierce. There we go. Now, the first time you hear that, it just sounds like an entertainer. And anybody that does anything where you have to perform, there are days you show up and you get in front of a microphone and go, I don't want to do this today, man. I don't want to do this today. And if there's nothing going on in the news cycle or nothing's happening, you can take a day off. But there are days you're going to have to go and do it when you don't want to do it. Unless by some chance you are lucky enough to have a little demon that can take over. She did an interview and she said, it's like two different people. It's like I get possessed before I go out there. I got a name for her. It's Sasha Fierce. They say the creepiest crap, and we always go, well, they're kind of eccentric, aren't they? Right? I mean, they're rich and they're famous and they live in that weird kind of Hollywood world. So yeah, they're a little different. Right? They're nice, but they're a little different. If we listen to the things that they said, like actually listen to them, I don't think this guy would have gotten away with what he got away with for as long as he got away with it. You know what I mean? Kind of weird. Yeah. Well, Helena says, there are just so many more talented artists than both Sasha and he who shall not be named. Well, here's the thing. We don't need talented artists anymore, right? This came right out of the lawsuits that allege that Diddy talked about this all the time. We don't want any talent. Talent goes to other labels, right? We don't want any talent. Talent asks for more money on their next deal. Talent says, I want my own record, like the masters. I want to own the masters. I want to own the rights to my music. Let's talk about the rights to this stuff. They don't want any of that. So if they can get someone who doesn't have the talent, then you just use your auto-tune and get some people writing them some good lyrics. But you're right. There's a lot more talent out there. You see them, they're playing instruments and all that. Doesn't seem to matriculate through at the same rate of speed, though, do it. Cynicism on TMZ about an inmate who was beat to death by guards, allegedly. Is this the one you're going to cover? Video was disgusting. That is the one I'm going to cover. You probably heard that there's a lot of evidence to prove that this guy he sustained these injuries while his hands were cuffed behind his back. Really heroic. Personally, I don't care what a guy says. If he's restrained with his hands behind his back and you're beating on him, you're a coward. That's my opinion, and I'm sticking with it. I agree with you. And so does everyone else. No, she's got some fans. Sonny Knight says J-Lo is talentless. No, that's not fair, right? Let's be in the spirit of the holiday. Let's be honest. She's an excellent dancer, right? She can dance. Now, as far as the singing and the acting and all that stuff goes, I don't know about all that. I really don't. My understanding is that she doesn't do a lot of that singing anyway. She's got someone else that does it for her. Unless that person, she's kind of and she doesn't seem particularly nice. If you saw the documentary that she made, The Greatest Love Story Never Told. Just threw up my mouth a little bit. Yeah, I'm okay. It's that J-Lo thing. It's disturbing is what it is. But she made herself look so bad in that. It almost looked like a hit piece that someone did on themselves, if that makes sense. Auto-tune, that's right. Auto-tune. Crank that thing on. You don't need any talent. Let it roll. Yes. Sorry, hold on 1 second. Whoa. They're getting crazy. Did Reese just walk by in a bathtub? I did. You know what, you tool? There's no Logan with her. I don't know what the. Then I closed the door. Yeah, maybe I'll get that. No, I've got I'm tied up in cables, you see. There you go. That's the spirit. Quibs. Hey, Bobo. So this is where we find ourselves if you're just getting here, right? This battle, the judge said that we're not going to have it. However, since it's not going to rage in court, the judge said to Spyro straight out, we're not going to have this litigious BS where the filings that you're doing are just to tie up the court, to waste time, and to annoy the people on the other side of the aisle, right? Just as a way to harass Tony Buzbee, right? It's not going to happen. So now they're left with trying to do the PSYOP route. If they're not going to be able to do this in court, they're not going to be able to file and do all that stuff, then they're going to start trying to muddy the waters. You're going to see a lot of people that are going to start doing videos where they talk about how these people are innocent. Maybe not as much Sean Combs, but sure as hell, there are going to be people beaten to death. The fact that old Voldemort, right? Man's done nothing wrong. He's a saint. He donates to a lot of charities. He's kind to his mother. He has a tremendous singing voice. And doggone it, he's nice to kittens and puppies. It's fascinating to me. These guys, what's the difference between the two of them? They're the same people. In fact, they're accused of the same crime at the same time on the same night with the same victim. But for 2 months, when we thought it was Celebrity A, we didn't get up in arms about it. Nobody did, right? It was just Diddy, and we were like, dude's a scumbag, right? The second that we found out that Celebrity B or Celebrity A was Jay-Z, you heard me. All of a sudden, it's all right, we're 1 hour in. All of a sudden, out of the woodwork, people start coming out to go, this girl's story doesn't make any sense. Honestly, how long did she travel? Wait a second. I thought her dad said that he had no memory of this. Obviously, her old man would have had a memory of this, right? A lot of BS going on. Boy, this is that ambulance chaser down in Texas is really going to learn his lesson now, because these boys over there at Rock Nation ain't going to take any crap. I don't know, people. It seems like there are completely two different deals, right? There's completely two 180-degree diametrically opposed ways that these two guys are going to be treated, even if the crime is identical. One is being given the benefit of the doubt. Just ask the people over at the NFL, right? Old Roger Goodell came out with a statement and said, yeah, we heard what they were talking about. We're going to go forward anyway. They're still going to do the Super Bowl. We're going to do all that. And then you could say, maybe it's just because they were already so far along, or maybe they don't care, man. Maybe this dude's protected. So why hasn't he been arrested, asked Kathy Wright. Well, we're jumping the gun a bit, right? I know we're impatient. I'd like to see the guy get arrested too, I promise you. But think of how long it took for them to arrest the diddler after they hit his house. They hit his house in the end of March, last week of March. And then we had all of April, all of May, all of June, all of July, and half of September, right? So we were closed in on a half a year. The information that is getting out on Voldemort, if the prosecution has grabbed it to take a look at it, and I imagine they would, they're then going to have to go chase it down, and they're going to have to make sure that the story is real. They're not going to just roll with it with the preponderance of the evidence. They have to have something they think they can prosecute within no reasonable doubt. It's a completely different animal. Right? In J-Lo's defense, in Selena, the family wanted Selena's voice to be heard, so that's why she lip synced in that movie. And I think that that's absolutely legit, and I can see why they would want to do that. They wouldn't want to replace, her voice. Yeah, but the albums and the records that she makes with people who sing and then don't get credit for it, and she takes credit as if it's her, singing the lead parts. That's kind of the issue that people get bent out of shape about. I personally don't, but I'm not a real big fan of the music. But that's me. Is tomorrow the day that we should see superseding indictments against the diddler? If by the 31st, that's what most pundits, that's what most thinkers have been saying, that they believe it should be by the 31st of December. And the reason for that is the 31st of December is when they got to have all of the discovery has to be given over to the defense, right? So Agnifilo and his team are supposed to get all of the evidence that the United States of America intends to use in USA v. Combs. So one of the theories among lawyers and smart people is that they want to, the government is probably going to want to file just so that it buys them more time in terms of being able to get their discovery over. And I don't know, that sounds very logical to me. We'll have to see if it plays out. But it does sound very, very logical. And then the other reason, well, who knows? Who's Voldemort? Well, let's see. I'm an hour and 3 minutes in. That would be Jay-Z. Now, especially in the beginning of the videos, I don't say his name because we get demonetized when we do. He's got a group of hitmen, apparently, that spend a lot of time complaining about videos that talk about him. So we go with the Voldemort, he who shall not be named kind of thing, and it's been working so far. Oh man, yeah, I could. A Voldemort perp walk? Yes, I absolutely can. I would like to see all of these people get perp walked, right? I really would. I'd like to see these guys get what they've got coming to them, and I would like to send the message throughout the rest of the entertainment industry that, you know what, we're not going to take it anymore. Not on my watch, right? Not anymore. Everybody's got to just start standing up for people that who can't stand up for themselves is what I was going to say. And you go, oh yeah, these rich bastards that can't stand up for themselves. If you believe that the things that happened to Diddler happened to Diddler, right? I mean, to Bieber. If you believe that that P. Diddy did things, put hands on this guy. What are we talking about? 13-year-old boy? That's foul stuff. right? Super foul stuff. But I don't think you can blame the people that, you hear all the time. Well, if it were me, if I were him, I'd come forward in a second, man. I'd come forward and destroy him. Well, congratulations to all of us that are so tough in situations that we're not actually in. I feel for Justin Bieber, right? He is a man. And as much as it would be great if we lived in a world where if a man said, hey, I was assaulted, I was essayed by another man, there would be nobody to crack a joke. There would be nobody to look at you different. There would be nobody to start just being generally an ass. But we don't live in that world. And you all know that. The first couple of times that even rumors came out, the amount of comments that were just disgusting, it was overwhelming. I don't blame the kid for not wanting to come out. Tough situation. Is it possible the diddler will meet the same mysterious end as Epstein? The only way that I think that could happen is, Mark Hardman, we know that the diddler had a really bad addiction to opioids, right? So they could easily get him a pill that could take him off the map. I don't think they're going to be able to claim that he unalived himself, right? I don't think that's something that we need to worry about too much. But allegedly, he's real dicey about what he eats because he's afraid he's going to get poisoned. And, it sounds almost silly until you realize that if all the allegations are true, this guy's been poisoning people for so long, he realizes how effective it is to take a chemical and put it into somebody's food or drink, right? This is something he's very well versed at, if you believe all of the things that have been said about him. I thought that was Bo for a second. Yeah, so I would, it makes sense that he would be paranoid about getting poisoned. It really does. Queen Bee's baby's daddy. It's not so bad. Usher pimped out Bieber to Diddy, says Noah Wright. I agree with you. He did. I absolutely agree with you. But if you believe this business model and you believe the things that people say, he didn't have a choice, right? The way that this whole network allegedly grew is through things like that. Like he had this setup thing with, what's his name, with Usher, and they had already gone through wrestling on the bed for the cornflakes or whatever such crap that he had already said on film, right? Which is, all of the early stuff, all of the really, really early stuff from all of the really early stuff, when he first started to build these relationships, you got to then get these parties bigger, right? So now once you've got this kid hooked and he's been groomed and all of that, you say, I understand you signed Justin Bieber. I need you to bring him by to the party tonight. We're all going to go out. We're going to do this. I'm trying to kind of protect the kid. Want to keep his voice good. We're doing this. No, you don't understand. Bring the kid by. And it seems like there was this network of invite upon invite upon invite until you've got this whole down low culture and you got people, but I don't care. I swear to you, you know this. I don't care. If you're gay or you're straight or you want to sleep with whatever, if you want to sleep with a person who's transgendered, makes no difference to me. Lamar Odom makes no difference to me, right? You can be with whoever you want to be, but it's all of that clandestine fake BS. It's that people pretending to be things that they're not the whole time, picking on people who are actually living out and proud of who they are. Kind of a weird place, man. Ian Wallace says, Bieber breaks my heart. Yeah, about all the abuse he's had. Yeah, I really feel bad for him. And I'm sure that he would hate to hear that. No one wants to hear that someone feels bad for you. But how can you not, right? How can you not feel bad for the kid? He never had a chance. Once he got linked up with this crew, he never had a chance. Interesting. Do you think Diddy being thrown to the wolves is a distraction from the JE mess with no one being prosecuted? Leanne, I don't feel like they had to distract us from the JE thing, the Epstein thing. I really don't feel like they had to. I mean, don't get it wrong. I know everybody here is 500 people here. I know all of you have an opinion on the Epstein thing, and are probably pretty sure of that opinion. And you probably think our country's kind of dirtbags for whatever really went down, and the fact that all of that was hidden from all of us for so long. I know that that's how everybody I talk to feels, right? But I don't know that. I think that the Diddy thing almost shines more of a spotlight on the Epstein case. I think that I get more people now that want me to comment on Epstein and the relationship between, or the juxtaposition between what was going on with him at the time it was going on with him to what's going on now with Diddy. It's people are fascinated by it, and I think these guys are pretty good from the PSYOP point of view. I think that if this was going to be a distraction, this one is. I don't know. I don't think it was a great choice. It always gets more people to continually bring up the Epstein name again and again and again. So I don't know that it's if that's what they're going for, it's not working well. If found guilty, do you think that the government would require paying for mental health care for the victims from Voldemort and Diddler? Yeah, no, they would. The government, they can order you to do that you don't have to do that civilly. They would order that any kind of counseling or whatever be paid for by by whoever was being charged, if it was one of them or both of them. That's standard operating procedure. But that's going to be just enough to cover things like your counseling. If there's any medication or whatever, you're going to pick up their hospital bills. Then on top of that, guaranteed these people are going to get in line to sue him. I would be willing to bet any amount of money. Come on now. Come on now. What are you doing? There it is. In hindsight, so much makes sense now with the behaviors of youngsters from back in that time. Beebs, kids from the Nickelodeon channel, yeah, at all. Should have realized it, completely missed it. Don't beat yourself up for that too bad. Here's the thing, man. Like, I've never fancied myself honestly, I've never fancied myself particularly bright. But one thing that I have always considered myself fairly good at is looking at an angle, right? I was a criminal for a long time, and I can usually see the angle. I usually see where the hustle or where the con is or whatever. But I used to plop Spanx. I used to put my kid in front of Nickelodeon, and I watched a lot of those shows. It's wild to me that I never figured any of that out. Like, it never clicked to me either, because if you go back and watch the reruns, like, we had to be stupid to not see what was going on. For real. It's disturbing. Do you think Biden will preemptively pardon the diddler? I do not. I read somewhere today that he has the power to do that. Yeah, I do not think he's going to do that. It would hurt his legacy, and it would also really damage his party. And I think that, yeah, and there's no benefit to him. I just don't see that that's something that would happen. But you never know, I guess. Let me guess. Hold on one second. You mentioned the other day that you can't get commissary until you've paid all your fines and such, correct? Oh, no. What I said is this. So you can go to commissary owing fines, but every single time they put money on your books, let's say your fines were $1,000. They're going to take a certain percentage off of every time someone puts money on your books, up to 10% or something. So, mom and dad put $500 on your books, or your wife puts $500 on your books. They're taking 10% of that until you pay off whatever the fines are, but you can still go to store. And he, as of this moment, is still just an inmate. He's not been convicted yet. So, yeah, till that happens, Yeah, he could be shopping for commissary now, to be sure. Oops. But Tommy, that type of crude sexual humor was huge in the late 90s. American Pie. Yeah, no, it was. Absolutely was. But it was a little different. Like in Nickelodeon, these girls were prepubescent, right? They really were. These were very young girls. And in every second to third episode, there would be a some hot sauce or ketchup or mustard or something, but there was always something like an external shot to the girl's face at the end. It was just disturbing, or onto their feet. It was just very sexual in nature, and I just felt stupid that it never occurred to me. I guess I wasn't paying nearly enough attention. Hold on. Come on, don't do that. Belfast, Anthony, good to see you, man. What happens if Diddy gets sued to the point of being skinned? We're all going skinned. Do all the other victims waiting in line to sue get nothing? Yes, ma'am. That's exactly what happens. Unless they step up to put some kind of a package together where everyone's going to get the same, but these are not class action lawsuits. Buzbee is not filing a class action lawsuit on behalf of 300 people. He is filing 300 individual lawsuits. So it's a different animal. And yeah, he'd go broke and the people at the end would get nothing. So it would probably pay off if your last name was Anderson and they did it by alphabetical order. If the diddler and Voldemort are found guilty, what will the conditions be like when they are incarcerated? I'll say this is the feds. I don't think they'll be in too much danger of getting killed in there, but in the feds, the conditions suck. You're going to be more comfortable in other prisons. They're not great. The food's bad. You can't have any electronic equipment in your cell, so you can't have a television set or any of those things. As far as prisons go, the feds suck. It really does. And then he's going to have to deal with the fact that he's famous and that most of the people around hate him. Right? He's got bad crimes, bad paperwork, nonce, right? He's that kind of paperwork can get a person in deep trouble, can get a person killed. So he's always going to be looking over his back. Question: how do they decide the order these are tried in? There being so many. No, I don't think it's luck of the draw. I think it's how fast you actually got it filed in. So if there were 5 in there at the same time, the people who filed first, and it's going to be time stamped. So that would be my guess. Is what we're seeing is it's just in line with in what order they were filed. Yeah, there's a lot being made about these drones, and I've done one show on them already. I'm going to be doing another one, but I want to have a little bit more info before I do. There's a lot of speculation. Talking to some of your guests about dogs. Do they have therapy animals in the feds? Would be money well spent. It would be money well spent. They don't in the feds. I've never seen any animal programs in the feds. I saw them in the state, and it has an effect. It even has an effect on the yard for the people that aren't handling the dogs. It just seems to really have an effect to have pets around of any kind. Dogs, cats, whatever. But they weren't allowing them in the feds. Do I think he'll end up in Florence? That's a great question. I think there's a really good chance he could, because he's going to get stupid with a phone. He's already demonstrated the fact that he can't use a phone and do it in a normal way without getting himself in trouble, right? So the more you tamper with stuff like that, the more you act like a jackwagon, and the more you break rules, the better a chance that you're going to end up in a place where they don't have to deal with you anymore. They put you in their warehouse, you would walk away like ADX Florence. You literally just get locked up. Kind of frightening. No, I do not think there's any chance that they would put both of them in the same cell. I could be wrong, but it seems like a stretch because it invites trouble. I don't think they would. I'd be surprised if they would even put them in the same unit unless they absolutely had to and had no other choice. But I don't. It's not something that they would want to do. Sorry. Absolutely, Crystal. Absolutely, you can go ahead and give them my email address. I would love that. I really would. Anything if it's for that's a cause I can get behind. So to be sure, please pass that on. All right, people. I am going to be back tonight with Night Yard, and to be honest, there might even be a chance. Depending. I'm waiting on some news. If I hear that news, I might be ducking back on one more time. But if not, I will see you on Night Yard, where we talk about all things prison. Come by, ask questions. There will be at least 2 convicts there at all times, usually 3, and it'll be a fun one. I appreciate you for tuning in. Please, people, do me a favor. Between now and the next time I see you, reach out and try to save somebody. I'm the Admiral. We'll see you. God bless. Bye-bye.